Good evening. Welcome to the first episode of Climate Change and Wildlife with the Brimback Green Foundation. So, today we are discussing about climate change and wildlife. What is climate change? Climate change is the change in the weather pattern, drastic change in the weather pattern of the atmosphere or Earth. So, this shifting weather pattern will threaten food production, it will rise sea level, and increase the risk of catastrophic events like flood, drought, etc. The impact of climate change are global in scope and unprecedented in scale. Without drastic action today, adapting to this impact in the future will be more difficult and costly. So, what is the reason for this climate change? Or is the human fingerprint will create climate change? So, greenhouse effect is the major reason for climate change. Greenhouse gases. The greenhouse gases occur naturally and are essential for the survival of human and millions of other living organisms. These greenhouse gases keeping the sun's warmth from reflecting back to space and making the earth hot and make livable. But after the Industrial Revolution, the quantities of greenhouse gases increased rapidly and given a record levels not seen before. As the population increased, the economies and standards of living grow, the cumulative level of greenhouse gas emission also increased. The concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere is directly linked to the average global temperature of Earth. The most abundant greenhouse gas occurring for 2/3 of the greenhouse gases is carbon dioxide. Increasing amount of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases like methane, nitrous oxide, water vapor, etc. will result in greenhouse effect, and it leads to global warming. And greenhouse gas emissions are occurring mainly due to fossil fuel burning. So, what is greenhouse effect? A greenhouse is a small house made up of glass which is used to grow plants. The greenhouse traps the sun's rays and keep it warm inside. The gases like carbon dioxide, methane and water vapor traps the energy from the sun and keep the atmosphere warm like a greenhouse. So that is why the earth or the atmosphere is apt for living. But the humans are creating extra greenhouse gas through fossil fuel burning and other industrial activities. Hence, the more heat will get trapped in the atmosphere, because the greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide, methane and nitrous oxide, etc. present in the atmosphere will trap more heat from the sun, and only less heat will reflected back to out of the atmosphere. So this causes the temperature of the atmosphere to increase. So it global warming affect the weather pattern of Earth and causes climate change. These changes will result in higher sea level, more rainfall and severe drought, flood, etc. So how it is going to affect wildlife, or what effect does climate change have on wildlife? The global climate change have significant effect on species and ecosystems. Basically, all species have its own ecosystem, its own habitat and its own range of adapting temperature. So when the climate will change or the temperature of the atmosphere increase, there will be a shift in the species distribution pattern, especially along the elevation gradient. Elevation gradient means along the height elevation. So if a species is staying the low elevations, when the temperature of that low elevation will increase, that species will tend to move to the upper elevations or the higher elevations for less temperature. So that is one effect of climate change on wildlife. So other changes include the changes in the life cycle of the life history events, changes in life history events of animals, like its breeding, or in case of plants, it will change the phenology of the plants. And otherwise, some climate change events results in extinction or extirpation of range restricted or isolated species and populations. So some species will have narrow range of distribution or restricted range of distribution. So that such species can only stay in that atmosphere, or if you are taking an example of an island geography, the species in that island cannot move out of the island. So if sea level rise and that island will submerge in the water, all the wildlife in that island will be extinct. So another one is loss of habitat due to sea level rise, increased fire frequency, altered weather pattern, flood, drought, and direct warming of other habitat such as mountain, streams, etc. Climate change also events will create stress on species, and wildlife diseases outbreaks will happen. Another impact of climate change on wildlife is the competition for resources. Due to climate change, when the resources get reduced, interspecific and intraspecific competition for resources and also for habitat will occur. That also will lead to the extinction of restricted range species. So increased spread of invasive or non-native species of plants and animals and pathogens are another impact of climate change on wildlife. So we will continue talking about climate change and wildlife in the coming episodes. Thank you for watching.